Hey guys, Levi with Trident Fly Fishing, and today we're going to be tying a Semper Fleye. This is a pattern designed by Popovic. It's a super swimmy fly, looks really good in the water, and it's pretty easy to tie. So we're going to start with an Ahrex SA280 hook and a size 1. This is a pattern you can tie big, small, anything that you're looking for. It's a pretty, versatile pattern in both color and size. The fly really is your oyster here. So I'm gonna start with that SA280 in the vise, and we're gonna run our thread all the way back to the hook bend. And for thread, we're using Unimono in size 4/1000. It's clear monofilament thread. It's really good for most saltwater applications. So run that back to the bend and get rid of your excess. And we're gonna start this fly with a tail of bucktail. Grab about pencil's width and clip that off. And you can get rid of the shorts. Those will just get in your way. All right. And as you can see, a little longer, about 1.5 times the shank of that hook. So go ahead and tie that down right at the bend. And whenever you tie it, do a couple of tightening wraps and then apply your pressure around the hook shank just to get this 360 degrees around the shank. And then you can crank on it and get it tied in and set. All right. Now we got that. We're gonna move to our feathers, and this whole fly is essentially feathers. So you want to measure your feathers, and they can be varying lengths, but measure them to at least the length of that bucktail. We're gonna need probably somewhere between 5 and 8, depending on the size of your fly. And I like them to be kind of a variety of lengths, just because when you have that difference in length around the feathers, that just gives more area to swim. The more fibers you have there, not close together, just the more this fly swims. And that goes for all things bucktail, if you're tying a bucktail deceiver, a hollow fly, or anything like that. So want to measure these a little beyond the bucktail, at least covering it. And I like to leave this fuzzy stuff in there. I think it creates a little durability, and it just makes for a nice profile in the fly. So I don't go for those really straight fibers. I like some of the fuzz. So tie one in nearest to you. This is a big fly, so you don't have to worry about doing it further away from you, so that it doesn't get in your way. So do that exact thing with another feather. Strip off some fuzz, and now tie it in on the side furthest from you. So you have one on either shank right now. All right, so now a third one, and the third one's gonna go right on top. Again, get rid of some of that fuzz and leave a bit too. Tie it on right on the top. So now you have 3 feathers tied in. And you got the majority of them ready to go, and now we need to work on the bottom of the fly. So go ahead and get that secured. And if you have a rotating vise, this really does help a lot. So you can use smaller feathers for the bottom that, are 20% shorter than the top. And I like to do this just because it kind of completes that bait fish profile. So strip off some fuzz, but leave a little bit too. And tie one in that gap. And these are all tied, the term is tied in the round. So they do go 360 degrees around the hook shank. And we used 5 feathers here, this is our 5th. So again, strip some of the fuzz off, but also leave a little bit and hit it right there and tie it in. And if you guys like what you're seeing right now, go ahead and hit the like button below so we can take that into consideration for what we're gonna tie next. And now that you have your tail complete, go through, make sure they're set. You can still mess with them a little bit. And you can see that creates a nice flowing taper rearward. So go ahead and tie these stems down, and what that does is just adds bulk that makes everything smooth. We're going to be palmering some feathers here, and if you have all sorts of steps and gaps, it just disrupts the whole taper of the fly, and this is one of those flies that does benefit. Now you'll see these remaining stems in there. Just go ahead after you clip them and just wind your thread right tightly and create just a smooth underbody. Reason for that is it allows a nice profile whenever we do end up wrapping these feathers. If you have a smooth underbody, everything on the outside will follow suit. Whereas if you have some steps and disruptions, it's not gonna hurt your fly. It's still gonna fish just fine, but it doesn't create as nice of a look, and sometimes I'm pretty critical about that for my own flies. But again, the fish likely won't care. So now that we have that tail figured out, we're gonna add some flash. Any flash is fine. I tend to like the limper stuff. So this is Flashaboo, just standard in a small size. I think it's actually 1/1000th, but don't quote me on that. It's not on the package. Yeah, it is 1/1000th in the color pearl. So I have 3 or 4 strands there. Just clip them off. And gonna wanna start on one side and just hit them with a wrap or two, and then pull them around to the other side and tie them down. And what that does is just adds durability. So tied them in one way, turned around, and secured them in rearward. So now we're gonna get ready to wrap a body. And we'll grab a feather off of this saddle now. So it has some good markings and has the webby features we're looking for. And a nice supple stem. We're gonna strip these fibers down. As you can see, they're nice and webby, they're staying. And I like to tie the tip in. So for this, since the larger fibers are at the bottom down here, we're actually gonna do the exact opposite of what we did. So instead of tying it from the tip first, where there's these small fibers, this just doesn't have what we need. So it does no service to us to tie it in that way from the tip. So snip that off, tie that in at a 45-degree angle, and it's about southwest is the way that it's facing. Just an easy way to wrap this. And anytime I'm doing it, whether it be a small size 14 or 16 soft tackle or something big like this, it's just the way that I do it. I've found that orientation works best. So go ahead and start to wrap these fibers, and you'll want them to extend a little. I just like to use the fluff as a sort of reference point. You can let them extend to or right about beyond that, and that'll create an overall nice taper in this fly. So as you're wrapping your hackle, just be sure to sweep these fibers back. And what that's gonna do, get the most out of your fibers, and it also contributes to, again, a smooth profile, which is, we should all strive for that any chance we get. So go ahead and clip that off. You won't use the upper portions of these feathers, unfortunately, and you can save them, use it on a different fly or anything. It's just that those fibers don't contribute to the profile we want here. So clip that out, and then do the same exact thing with another feather. You can measure the fibers against the previous ones. You don't want them to be too aggressively larger or smaller, because that's gonna lead to some disruption in your taper. So go ahead and tie that in again, right there at a 45-degree angle. And if you guys like the looks of the Semper Fleye, everything we're using right now can be found on tridentflyfishing.com. So go ahead and check it out there, and all orders over $49 ship free. So feel free to take advantage of that whenever you're getting ready to tie some flies. So now that we've got this one secured, go ahead and again, wrap it. And sweep those fibers back as you're wrapping once again. And another thing you can do, if you want to increase your durability, it's not going to hurt anything, go ahead and hit your thread, the thread that's around the shank, with a little bit of head cement. And what that does is just kind of locks everything in. It's not necessary, but if durability is what you're looking for here, it certainly will help. So once you get out of the webby section of this feather, it's time to tie it off. pin trap down and seat it. All right, so clip that and just secure it in there and get it ready for what will likely be the last feather. Again, you can measure it against that, the one previous, and you'll notice there's a limber section of these feathers, and once you get out of that limber section, it's hard to wrap this thick stuff here. So just go ahead and get rid of that. You can clip it off now, save yourself the step. And again, tie that in, 45-degree angle, facing southwest. Get that secured and snip that off. So now wind your hackle again and sweep those fibers back all the way to the eye of the hook. For the head, rather the final feather, if you get into some of those not so webby fibers, it's totally okay, because all it's gonna do is just add a little bit of color to the end of this. It's not necessary, but sometimes I like just those couple contrasting colors right at the front of this fly. So now that you've wrapped that, go ahead and tie it off and just secure it. Now sweep it back. Anytime you palm or hackle, it's just a good idea to hit a whip finish before you finish anything up, or hit a half hitch, just to make sure that you don't lose any of that palmering that you just did. So now you can snip this feather off, and you can hit it with a whip finish. Sweep the fibers back while you're whip finishing. And we do 2 in there just to be sure. This is a saltwater fly, so you take a little bit more abuse than maybe what you'd need in a freshwater environment. So we're not done yet, despite clipping the thread. So go ahead and clip that. Now what I like to do, just hit your run your bodkin through this. What that does, make sure any trapped fibers don't stay trapped, just creates a fuller profile. But that's all you're doing there, and I want to thank you guys for watching. That's a Semper Fleye, and we'll see you next time.